Tom Clark's 6M podcast is a Boink Studios production. And now, on with the show.
Hey, what is up? Welcome to Tom Clark's 6M podcast. I'm your host, Tom Clark, and in this episode, I'm joined by co-host Phil Lindsey.
Well, they can't all be winners, kids. There's quite a few episodes of this here little podcast where we could have kicked off saying the words, well, they all can't be winners, kids. And buddy, today's such a case. Today we're reviewing Spider-Man 3. We, of course, are talking about the original Spider-Man franchise. Sam Raimi at the helm and Tobey Maguire in the lead role. Of course, a lot of this cast has vindicated itself through the MCU. These stories have come back around. Character plot holes have been fixed. We got to see Tobey suit up again. We all know this, and all those movies have been covered in the archives, so please feel free to check them out. I'm sure we'll mention them today as we go. But buddy, when it comes to the original Spider-Man 3, no, they can't all be winners. This is a tough watch, kids. And if you haven't seen it in a while, maybe you remember it. I'd encourage you to watch it again, but maybe I won't do that. Like I said, this is a tough one. If you've never seen it, we're going to spoil it. If you choose not to watch it, hey, look, it's up to you. I'm not telling you not to, but I'm also not telling you to. All right. This movie is a lot tougher than I remember. But we're Spider-Man guys here. We're absolutely Marvel guys, so we're going to get through it, and we hope you enjoy it. Lots to tackle, lots of head scratching to do, and so we might as well get on with it. But before we do, let's do this. Spider-Man 3 is a 2007 superhero film directed by, of course, Sam Raimi, marking the final chapter of his iconic Spider-Man trilogy. Following the critical and commercial triumphs of Spider-Man in 2002 and Spider-Man 2 in 2004, expectations were sky high for this installment. Produced by Columbia Pictures in collaboration with Marvel Entertainment long before the MCU kids, and released by Sony Pictures Releasing. The movie reunites Tobey Maguire, as we said, as Peter Parker and Spider-Man, with Kirsten Dunst and a very big cast. You could argue perhaps too big. Set a year after the events of Spider-Man 2, this film explores Peter's struggle to balance his superhero responsibilities with personal life while facing the chaos of not one, but 3 villains. Oy vey. Released on May 4th, 2007 with a production budget estimated between $258 and $350 million. This film earned approximately $890 million worldwide, making it one of the top grossing films of the year. And that is your lowdown on Spider-Man 3. So Phil, we did not get into this before we hit record here today. So I don't have your thoughts as of yet. And we've covered a lot of Spider-Man here on the show. What's your first thoughts right out the gate on Spider-Man 3?
Well, I haven't seen it in quite a long time. So I rewatched it. And there was a lot that I'd forgotten. Of course, there's some unforgettable stuff here that I was like, boy, that was an interesting choice. But there was quite a few things that I'd forgotten about. And there were quite a few things that I think I appreciated more this time around watching it without expectations and without that feeling of, boy, this is not a great movie. And don't get me wrong, I still came away feeling like, boy, this isn't a great movie. But I did like it more this time around. I think it's because I've had time away from it. I've also gotten older, and I think sappier older me enjoyed certain things more this time around. There's a specific part in this movie that always makes me tear up, and it made me tear up again this time. Having not seen it in a long time. But there are other parts about this movie that also made me pretty emotional, and I think it's because, say what you will about Sam Raimi's approach to Spider-Man, I think that he got the small things really right about it. I think he got like I think he got a lot of the mythos around the character right. I think that he got a lot of what makes Peter Parker correct, and he got all of his smaller relationships correct. And I think that's where this movie tries to come out from under a script that does not do it any justice. um and like all of those parts where it's just like stuff with him and Aunt May, or him and Mary Jane, which there's bits of the Mary Jane stuff that's not very good, but there's semblances of an actual good love story there. The stuff with Harry, when you get past the other convoluted stuff they added there, is also very good.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you right now, I can already tell. This hit you a lot better than it did me today, which is fine. I appreciate the different point of view because I certainly didn't want to sit here and crap all over it, which I have no intention of crapping over it. Phil, let me say something positive before we get started. I believe the problems of this film are, I'm going to say, and it's a big number, I think 70% of the problems of this film don't have anything to do with Sam. It's because Venom was shoehorned into this script.
Yes. I think a lot of the problems with this movie are studio meddling, to be honest with you. Because we've of course heard the stories over the years of how Sam Raimi did not want to use Venom, wasn't a big fan of the character, but the studio wanted to use Venom. And the approach to Venom in this movie, you can see some of it is from someone that doesn't necessarily understand the character that well. Um, and that's why, like, I can see that. I think a lot of the stuff with Venom doesn't really land that well. A lot of stuff with the symbiote doesn't really work that well. But there's so many other things in this movie, like I said, that like the stuff with Sandman and like, I mean, yeah, the whole no, this guy really killed your uncle thing. We
Yeah.
didn't really need that. But
Yeah.
the Sandman stuff is great, and the stuff with him and his daughter, and like I don't care how many times I see it. His origin and him trying to put himself back together is so beautiful and so tragic. Like that stuff is great. The first fight with Sandman is incredible. Like the effects and everything look really good. But yeah, it's just too much happening in this movie. Like I said, there are moments where it's like, oh, this is great, but there's so much else going on that it's just like it just tries to be too many things at once.
Yeah. There's 3 movies happening in this movie, Phil, right?
Yeah.
There's the Harry Osborn dealing with the grief of his father's death and wanting revenge. Yes. That's one movie by itself with no other villains. Then you've got the second movie with the Sandman, which could have just been the Sandman and Peter. Then you have the third movie of Venom, which could have just been Peter and Venom. But they crammed 3 movies into one film. And buddy, it didn't work. Like, it just doesn't work. It's too convoluted. It's too heavy. I mean, I sat here at different points watching this film, Phil, and I'm like, it's the last time we saw Topher Grace in this movie. So then I started checking the time counts. I'm like, oh my God. And then it became not just him, then it became Sandman. I'm like, when's the last time? How long has it been? Like, there's chunks of this movie where we don't see any of the villains at all. Like, we just kind of forget about them. And you're like, oh, that's right. Venom's in this movie. Forgot all about it. Like, screen time was a problem, Phil. As we're saying here today, too much stuff going on. That's a big part of the problem.
Yeah. Characters would just disappear out of the scenario, or we had to create a plot device to take them out of the scenario, like giving Harry amnesia so that he is not in the main plot point for chunks of this movie. And then like there would be so many things that just happen because of happenstance to introduce something like, oh, well, Gwen Stacy just happens to be doing this modeling gig on this high rise that is also getting hit by this crane. And the crane just, for some reason, just keeps coming back and hitting the building a second and then a third time.
Right? And how that whole building just didn't collapse, I have no idea, because that thing is doing some serious damage.
Yeah, I mean, one of the coolest web slinging rescue scenes in the entire trilogy, by the way, is him saving Gwen falling out of the building when he jumps off of that chunk of the wall and like flies in between those 2 pieces of debris before they smash together. So cool.
Yeah, they look great. I mean, think how far we came from this film to the first Spider-Man in terms of visual effects.
Yeah, yeah, I think visually, some of the action in this movie is some of the best of the trilogy, but yeah, again, just too many other things happening at the same time.
Way too much. I mean, the film opens with, New York has accepted Peter. He's a hero. Kids love him. Peter's finally growing into this. There's magazines. Why New York loves Spidey. I mean, his face is everywhere. It's in Times Square. He's still getting picked on in college, because of course he is. And very early
Doesn't
on,
make
we
sense.
meet, right? Very early on, we meet Gwen. I got to get your take on Gwen right off the bat. This is Bryce Dallas Howard, of course.
Yeah.
I like her. I don't know if she was cast correctly in this role. What's your take?
I think she's great. I've seen her in other things, and I really
Yeah.
enjoyed her. Very easy on the eyes.
Yes,
Doesn't really fit in this movie.
I
Gwen as a
agree.
character doesn't fit in this movie as well. It just feels like we're trying to introduce too many characters, and then like we're trying to like connect all these dots to make sure they're in Peter's immediate circle. Okay, well, this is a girl that he goes to school with. She's just in one of his classes, but she also just happens to have gone on a date with Eddie Brock, and also happens to be in this high rise modeling for some reason, and then also happens to be on the stage talking about Spider-Man for Spider-Man Day, which we never really get a reason for why she's doing that, but she's there.
He saved her, and I guess since she's a police chief's daughter, they get a parade because it's her that got saved. I'm like, all right.
Yeah, yeah. There's multiple times where it's like they're trying to make up a reason why she's in a scene or in the immediate situation with Spider-Man or Peter Parker, and it just doesn't work. It's done in a very clumsy way. I think if she had been introduced in like the second movie, and you had that through line from the second movie to this movie, maybe. But trying to introduce her in this movie and then shoehorning her in so many moments, it just doesn't work.
Doesn't work. Yeah, it's this desire to cram as many characters as you possibly can into this movie. And Gwen Stacy suddenly modeling and MJ's an actor. What the F is happening here? Like what has happened to this little Spider-Man universe? Like,
Yeah.
right? Like parts 1 and 2 felt so good, put you in a sugar coma. Like you just felt good. You're like, oh my God, this is freaking heaven. Then this movie happens. You're like, what the frick happened? Like, what
Yeah.
happened?
Yeah, the stuff with Mary Jane and her acting career takes off, and uh she's doing a stage play, and we're getting more and more of these scenes where she's acting, and then they're dubbing in this voice of her singing, and it's so clear that it's not her singing voice, and it's just
Right.
yeah, it's rough. One of my jokes when I first saw this movie is they do the scene at the end where Mary Jane is working at that jazz club, and she's getting up there to sing again, and I was like, oh, more of this Mary Jane singing, and then Peter shows up and puts his hand out to her, and I was like, this was the greatest save of the entire movie. He saved us from more of her singing. Thank you, Peter Parker. We are forever in your debt. Um, but I mean, and I'll get back to that scene, and there's so much done in the closing moments of the movie that is really good. It's just their attempt to put a bow on all of this stuff that happened in this movie. But yeah, because again, there are things I noticed this time around that I did not notice. I think that Toby and Kirsten Dunst have great chemistry. I think having them for 3 movies and like building up everything with them worked really well in this movie. And I think the stuff with Harry worked for the same reason because we have their history together. Uh, but they chose to do this really weird like love triangle thing with Gwen, and it's very forced. Like the
Yeah.
whole scene with Spider-Man showing up at his parade, and he's like, lay one on me, the crowd will like me. And it's just like, well, why did he do that? He knew Mary Jane was in the crowd. there's no real reasoning why he would do that. And then when he shows up later and she explains like she's hurt by it, he just seems confused. Like, well, she's just a girl in my classroom that you
Yeah.
just let kiss you in front of everybody. Like, why would
Yeah.
you do that? And I mean, if he was being affected by the symbiote in that scene, that would have gave you the easy cop out of, oh, he's just being arrogant, he's just being a jerk because the symbiote's affecting him. But it wasn't. He made the decision all on his own.
Yes.
It was just like, why did he do that?
Yes, it was not affecting him at all. Like, it makes no sense. And man, one sign that things have gone south, whether it's a movie or a show, whatever you want to say, Phil, when characters begin acting out of character, you know something's wrong. Like him kissing Gwen is Peter Parker acting out of character. That is nothing that Peter would have ever done. That never would have happened in part 2. But suddenly he's kissing her for no good reason.
Yeah, and let's, even if you drop out of it what we know about Peter Parker as a comic book character, as a character we've seen in many other adaptations, cartoons, or anything, just in the continuity of this trilogy, it doesn't make sense. He spent 2 movies chasing this woman, and he finally gets her. He gets his happily ever after. The city loves this guy. He's got his girl. He's narrating this at the beginning of the movie. Everything's finally working out for me. And then you, for no reason at all, just kiss another girl in front of her. And then you're like, oh, well, here I am. I'm gonna propose to you now. Like, what?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Here's what I'll tell you. You're right about them still having chemistry. Him and her are great together. However, it was uncomfortable in almost every scene they had. Even before things started going bad, it was uncomfortable. I can't speak for actors, but it almost felt like they weren't, I don't know. It's not them, I'm sure. It's just what their lines, the dialogue, but it just didn't feel like them. It felt like 2 different people at any given time in this. And that really took me out of it because they should always be charming, Phil. They should always be sweet and sappy and storybook because that's who they are. Then you get to this movie, and one of the first things that happens is Peter's telling her what a great job she did, and he's kind of making it about himself. And I'm like, what are you doing? Your girl just killed. She killed. You're proud of her. Why is this about you? And she calls him out on that later, Phil, like, this is not about you.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, well, there's 2 things that happen here. And I think if this movie didn't have so much else going on, I think that this would have been explored in a better way.
Yes.
This is his first girlfriend. And he falls really hard for her. Like he spends the entirety of this trilogy chasing this woman, and then he finally gets her. And anybody that's been in a relationship knows this. Like the conquest of the woman and like the chase and everything is way more romantic and way more interesting than actually being with the person. And that's why, certain movies and TV shows, books all struggle with the happily ever after phase because it's not that interesting when you have to write about somebody as a couple.
Yeah.
That's kind of the dynamic that went into the comics, why they got rid of the marriage at one point. And I think you see the struggles of trying to write them as a couple here. And Spider-Man is such a big presence in their relationship in the city. And I think you get that point with Mary Jane where it's just like, I cannot escape Spider-Man. Not Peter Parker, Spider-Man. And it's just like, I don't think that that's explored well enough here, that was such a big, it's such a big presence in their relationship. And he's finally coming into his own as an adult and as a confident man. And he's coming into his own as Spider-Man. And at the same time, she is still just Mary Jane. It's like, it's like at the beginning of this trilogy, he met her at a time where she felt like she was out of his league. By the time we get to the third movie, she kind of feels like she's out of his league.
Yeah.
And like I said, I don't think those things are explored well. And I think that if you had handled this better, that plot point would have worked.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's again, there wasn't enough time to there wasn't enough time to flesh anything out. Do
Yeah.
you remember the apprehension that we all kind of had? Like we were all on the hook for the MCU on the solo movies. And then when the Avengers movie happened, like I can't speak for you, but a lot of us were out here saying things like, "Man, I hope the screen time's right. They've got
Yeah.
they're laying the groundwork. Hope everybody gets." And the Avengers is a perfect film, right? Everybody gets the right amount of screen time. Everybody gets their storylines fleshed out. And I'm like, man, I can't say, well, it would have happened here because I don't think it would have happened here. Venom was
Yeah.
forced in. But we've seen, Phil, it can happen in a comic book movie. It just has to be the right timing.
Absolutely. And I think there's so many plot points that suffer for that reason because there's not enough screen time or there's not enough time to let certain things breathe. Like, um, that's why I said there are certain things I noticed this time watching it that I didn't notice. And I've seen this movie multiple times. I
Mhm.
didn't notice when she came and tried to talk to him about the review. And she says, like, it doesn't feel like I need you to see this from my point of view. It doesn't feel like these are critics saying these things about me. It feels like my father saying these things about me.
Mm.
And one of the things that they immediately connected on was he was there for her because he's known her because she lived next door. He was there for her before.
Mhm.
And in that moment, again, Spider-Man is in the way. Spider-Man is this big presence where he's not even seeing that he didn't hear what she said about her father before he walked out because gotta go. I gotta be Spider-Man. And it's not intentional. It's just like I gotta go do this. And I think if you had really let that part breathe, because it's a callback to the first movie, it would
Mhm.
have worked better.
Yeah, I agree. And it's almost like he kind of forgot. Like there's moments when he's helping everybody else, but she needs him.
Yeah.
And she's a tough chick, man. She's independent, but she needed him in that moment he wasn't there for, her, which
Yeah.
that was
Uh,
nothing that character would ever meant to have happened in the other two films.
yeah. I think even like in the breakup scene, and the breakup scene is tough to watch. Um,
Yeah.
but I think if she had even added some of her real feelings in it and told him at the end, not that, because of clearly Harry is trying to get her to break up with him and this is all a ruse. But if she had like added some truth to her breakup of being like, you're always gonna be Spider-Man. And I don't know if I can be Spider-Man's girlfriend because he's
Mm,
always gonna take precedent over me.
right. Exactly. Yeah. And you know what's funny is that whole bit. Like we see him on the glider and he physically assaults her and then says, "You're going to do something for me." So she goes and does it. Like on the bridge, if I'm her, I'm going, "Peter, he sent me out here. He's going to try to kill you."
Yeah.
Right? Like,
No.
let me get this straight. You've been living with this guy or know this guy for how many years? You know what he's capable of. You think that your normal friend on a glider can kill him? Are you serious? Like,
Well, he has taken the Goblin gas. He does clearly have powers at this point.
yeah, but
But yeah, to your point, I don't understand why she never tried to go. No, he's over there. Like never tried to like
yeah,
cue him in on it or nothing. But that's why I said if you had handled this better and you just handled this, what she already had reservations anyway because
yeah.
she was already upset with him, and so she used this as an excuse to just break up with him anyway. Um, But and again, the breakup scene, is very hard to watch because there's so much real emotion there. Boy, say what you will about Tobey Maguire. When they ask this guy to emote, they ask this guy to cry, he goes full in. And
Boy, all in.
they asked this guy to cry multiple times in this movie, and boy, he sells it. And he sells this breakup very, very well. Um, I think when we get to the point where he's just like, because again, this is his first relationship. Like, this is his first real relationship, and this is like the girl of his dreams. This is the girl next door, and he's telling him all these things, and he's not seeing at all that I've made mistakes. I've been insensitive. I haven't been considerate. All these things, and he's just really like trying to be like, I can change, I can do this different. And when he like pulls out the ring and he like tries to like last ditch effort pull out the ring, you know what this means? And you can tell in her face she had no idea. Um, and she just like completely like, I have to get out of here. I cannot stand here watching him say all these things with this ring, because if I stand here any longer, I'm gonna tell him the truth. I have to get out of here. And that's why
Yeah.
I think all of that stuff was acted so well. And that's like to my point of their chemistry is so good.
It's so good. No, yeah, I can't dispute that. Like, that's a great scene. But there are other scenes that for me, the dialogue is just,
Yeah. Ugh.
yeah, something's not working. Hey, look, speaking of the Venom thing, we have to talk about this. We first see the symbiote 10 minutes and 28 seconds into the film, which is not bad timing.
Meteor.
Yeah. And it attaches itself to his scooter. Here's me counting the clock there, Phil. We don't see this thing again until the 32-minute mark of the movie.
It's just in the room this entire time.
Uh-huh.
It's just in his apartment this entire time.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And we don't meet Eddie Brock Jr. I'm Eddie Brock Jr. Hi, I'm Eddie Brock Jr. Jr. We don't meet him till 34 minutes in.
Yeah.
And he just walked up out of the blue. No introduction. We didn't even hear about him. He just walked up. I'm like, yeah, this character was absolutely forced into this film. That he was not here. The thing never fell from the sky. He was never on the ground taking pictures. None of this stuff ever happened. They fit this in later. They had to have done that.
Yeah, the way he's introduced is very clumsy, because he's introduced in the same scene with Captain Stacy, and he's talking to Captain Stacy saying, "Hey, I'm Eddie Brock, new character that has also just been introduced, and also other new character. I just happen to be dating her."
Yes, right. Yeah, but it turns out he wasn't. They've been on one date, and she wasn't really all that impressed.
Yeah, and I will say this: I think if they had introduced Eddie Brock in the second movie, or if we got more of him, I think we would have enjoyed Topher and his character more, because there's something so sleazy about him, and it just works. He's just such a jerk, and you can see what they're trying to do. They're trying to do like this version of Peter if he didn't have any integrity. And it works, because Brock, at every turn, he just keeps doing things like he keeps trying to like force his way into situations, or like sweet talk people, and it's just like he's a little weasel. You could just see it in every scene he's in. It comes across like this guy is just like scumbag, a complete scumbag. And so all of the scenes where he's asked to just be kind of slimy, like in a scene where he's talking to Gwen and he's like, "Yeah, we had that amazing night." She's like, "We went on one date." And he's like, "No, but it was great, right?" It just makes your skin crawl. Like this guy, like, and to get all the way to the point where he's humbled by Peter in the office, and bro, again, sells this perfectly. He's like, "Don't do this to me. It's gonna ruin everything." And Peter's line, "You want forgiveness? Find religion." And of course, he does later try to find religion, praise to God, in the most petty, most
terrible,
hateful, spiteful prayer we have ever heard in the history of cinema.
Dear God, please kill Peter Parker. What?
Yeah, great stuff.
Yeah, dude, it's a mess. Hey, look, you're going to talk me into us writing a better third movie here, because why not introduce Topher in part 2? And there's no Venom, and we don't see Venom till this movie. That would have been so much easier. You'd had a whole film, Phil, to establish the Brock character. He's kind of a slimy, so-and-so. And then, by part 3, the thing lands however you want to do it, and then it assumes control of him. That would have been perfect.
Yeah, I'll give you even better. Everything that happens, it could have happened the same way with the Sandman stuff, and it's like the culmination of the Harry storyline, and the way that Harry dies, the same way with the glider and everything. And Peter is there, and he gives the same monologue at the end of the movie on the church, with the black suit on still, and he gives the same explanation of, no matter what your inner turmoil is, you have a choice. And my friend Harry Osborn taught me that. And you're getting that monologue while he's slamming against the bell, trying to get the symbiote off him because he's finally learned the lesson of you have the choice to be a better man. I learned that from my friend. And as the symbiote is coming off of him and it's going down and connecting with Eddie Brock, the end of the movie is Venom screaming at the screen. Perfect.
Yes. Wonderful. That's all you needed to do. But unfortunately, that's not the movie we got.
Yeah.
I love the thought of it. Yeah.
Boink Studios YouTube is the home of Tom Clark's 6M podcast. Tom Clark's main event, Bear Mode, a podcast review of The Bear, and Two Nations Under Ted, a Ted Lasso podcast. Subscribe to the channel for archives that date back to 2014, with new content being uploaded every week. And check out boinkstudios.com for links to every podcast platform, social media, special announcements, and a lot more. Bookmark the site today.
Part of me's watching this and I'm recalling how rushed it was, and I'm looking back and making notes, talking about how rushed it was here today. It's almost like they made this movie thinking, we better get everything in this movie. They're not going to let us do part 5. That's how it started to feel to me, or part 4, I should say.
Yeah, it felt mostly like that with the Venom stuff because a lot of thought went into this movie. I can't say that it was entirely rushed because, like I said, just the Harry and Peter stuff. Like, if you just follow the through line throughout the movie of everything with them, and he tries to talk to him when he's coming out of the play. And again, these are things I just did not notice the first time because I think we're just looking at it like, yeah, well, why would Harry be at this play staring down at Peter? We're supposed to get the idea he still is in love with Mary Jane. That's why he's there. He's there for his friend. He still sees Mary Jane, even if he's not like, I still love this woman. I still see her as a friend. And so I'm here to support my friend. Just so happens to be this elephant in the room. This man I hate is also here, which is a very Spider-Man storyline of like, these guys are all in the same social circle, but you have this big overshadowing thing over everything, which is Spider-Man, and how that has essentially ruined all of his smaller relationships. And it's ruining his relationship with Mary Jane in some ways, and it's completely ruined his relationship with Harry. And so then you have the stuff throughout the movie with the amnesia and him remembering who he is. And you have the great line. I cannot believe I have never noticed this. You have the great line when he's laying in bed, when he has amnesia, and they come to visit him, and the nurse tells them to leave, and the nurse like, "You have great friends." He's like, "My best friends. I give my life for them."
Yes.
Great line. And that sets up the third act of the movie. That sets up a lot of this stuff where Harry kind of learns he has to go his own way finally after having all of this stuff with his father for 3 movies. And that stuff is handled very well. The exposition stuff with the butler is dumb. You could have gotten there a better way. But everything around it, and just like him and Harry's relationship, when him and Harry finally team up at the end of the movie, that stuff is great. Harry's death mirroring the way that Norman died, but he sacrificed himself. Great. But again, there's so much other stuff around this. There's so much other stuff crammed into this movie that's not good.
Not good. It makes the Harry and Peter stuff not feel. It's not clicking because there's not, like you said, there's not enough time to breathe. Yeah. I mean, and by the way, thanks Bernard for sitting on this little nugget for how long now? Never bothered telling this kid.
That's what I'm saying. That whole thing is dumb. For him to know that all the time and never tell Harry, stupid. And that's how he finds out through exposition from this butler character. Like, come on, like,
yeah. He said, "Sir, I've seen some things, man, and some stuff."
I've seen some things.
Yeah. What do you mean? It's like, man, you don't know what I've seen up in here.
Yeah, but I mean, the real theme of this movie is supposed to be forgiveness. It's supposed to be like, and I think that like there's some of that stuff that was handled very well, but it's under a lot of muck in this movie. You got you gotta swallow a bunch of other muck to get to that point.
Yeah, and look, by the time you get to that point, to the stuff that works, you've sat there and trudged through all this other nonsense, and you're like,
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know if I'm. I don't think I'm. I don't have enough energy to do this now. Like I need a
It,
break. Like
it's exhausting.
it
It's like,
is.
yeah, that's why I'm like, if you would have trimmed a lot of fat and edited a lot of stuff out of this movie, it would have been much better.
We didn't need Venom. Number one, if you want to do the Harry stuff in a very very small dose, you could have done it. But I don't want to say there was too much. I think it was convoluted the way they did it. The whole bridge thing makes no sense to me. Flint Marco, Thomas Hayden Church is fantastic. There was
Yeah,
enough here with him and Peter, and that's your movie. That could have been part 3 with some Harry thrown in. You didn't
yeah,
need the rest of the stuff. And I knew, like, and I remembered, of course, but you know that Church has this kid, Marco has this kid, and he obviously made a lot of stupid mistakes. And you're like, let me get this straight. He just freaking killed Uncle Ben with no remorse. No, he didn't. That's not how it happened at all. Like, he shouldn't have been there. He shouldn't have been doing what he was doing, but he didn't run. He didn't flee. He stayed with the guys. He passed because it was a complete accident. So you're right. The forgiveness thing is there, but that whole storyline gets lost in the shuffle because by the time we feel it, you're like, yeah, but I still got to sit through Venom. Oy.
yeah,
Like,
yeah. And that's why I say if you had gotten all of this stuff where, because again, like man, again, just the best Aunt May. I don't care what anybody says. The
she's
best Aunt
great.
May. She is fantastic. Because that's really the point of this movie as well. When she's telling him like how harmful vengeance is and like how
Mhm.
much it can change you, and you see that in both Harry's character and Peter. And if that was just the main theme throughout this movie, and it wasn't attached to so many other things, um, we would understand. Like it would make much more sense. But yeah, and I mean, just like even the story she's telling him about how she met Uncle Ben and how he wanted to propose the first time and she told him no because I wasn't ready. It's not because I didn't want to marry him. I wasn't ready and I knew I wasn't ready
Mm.
and he wasn't ready. And that's just the kind of wisdom that somebody at that age can only give you. And that's why,
Mhm.
like I said, there's certain things that hit me differently as an adult watching it because that's something that somebody that's proposing to somebody for the first time, that's in a relationship for the first time needs to hear. Like, it might not be that you guys are not meant to be. It's just that you're rushing and it's okay to let these things develop, to let your feelings for somebody evolve, to let your connection evolve. And I think sometimes people feel like, oh, well, I love this person and that's enough. And it's like, it isn't, though. It's like, you know, that first feeling of falling in love with somebody is such a big part of what like starts a relationship, but it's not what keeps you together.
Yeah.
And that's what she was trying to tell him in that entire scene. And it's done so well. Even when she gives him the ring and, so many small notes here of acting as well. Like when she's saying we would have been together 50 years if, and she looks up because she knows how much he still blames himself. And she didn't even want to talk about it. She just moved on quickly. It's so well done.
Rosemary Harris is fantastic, and you're right. She's the best Aunt May for sure. I enjoyed that scene a lot, but for me personally, I don't think their follow up scenes together were on par with the first one.
Yeah, no. The other scene where she comes to the apartment,
Yeah.
and she's just like trying to make small talk with him, and she's just like, "Yeah, I thought you would move things around. I guess you can't really do that because it's just one room." And um, he explains like, I wasn't ready. I heard her, and she was like, "I know you will fix this. You're a good person." And again, she just tells him exactly what he needs to hear. She doesn't know exactly what's going on. She kind of hints that she knows he's Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Um, but she tells him exactly what he needs to hear. And it's just she's just so great in all three movies, man. This trilogy would not be what it is without her.
I agree with that. I wanted more of her. I felt like
Yeah.
we didn't get enough of her in this. And the scenes we got, that first scene was great. I kind of felt like the rest of the time we saw her and Peter together, for me anyway, it kind of paled to to the first scene of them together. And I'm like, I don't know if this is because of the script, if things had to be cut to make time or whatever that's going on, but a lot of things felt, it's like cutting a pro wrestling show. This match has got to go 5 minutes less because this one went 10 minutes over. I mean, it kind of felt like that to me, which you're right. She's fantastic. Real quick, back to the Sandman thing. We talked about effects. Sandman effects. What did you think about this?
I thought they were great. Like I said, his origin and him trying to pull himself back together after the accident.
Yeah.
Amazing, man. Just beautifully done. Very tragic. The stuff where he is in the machine and he's turning into sand and he's deteriorating and he starts screaming looks incredible. The very first fight, where he's trying to steal the money out of that Brinks truck is really good. I love the scene of Spider-Man swinging up to the top of the building and pulling his mask off, and the sand is in his boots and everything. And he's like, "Where do these guys come from?"
That's really good. That's a great line. And the scene where look, just like this movie's all over the place. I'm all over the place right now because we got a lot of stuff to cover, but I can't help it. Because not long after the silo scene where he gets his powers for the first time, and we've already got the Aunt May scene, is the moment when MJ comes to Peter's place and she's upset about the review. And man, again, Phil, this is a moment in time where I'm like, Peter was all about himself, didn't hear a thing she said. And I'm like, you can't discount what she's saying. She is heartbroken here.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it almost felt like it's one show. Like, how many actors struggle for years before they make it? But you know what? Had he come at her that way and said, well, they don't know what they're talking about. You're obviously great. I got faith in you. A lot of actors do this for years, and I bet you won't even have to do it that long because you're so great at what you do. Something other than what he gave her. Maybe she wouldn't have quit so easily after she got fired from the show. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think it's one of those things as guys. It's just like, I think sometimes we do this thing where it's like, well, you know how I feel and you know what I mean. I'm always in your corner. These people don't matter.
Yeah.
Like, those people writing things about you in the paper or whatever, they don't matter. Like, I'm always going to be in your corner. And I think that's what he was trying to say in less words, and she wasn't getting it. And I think he thought he was getting that point across well, and he was not. But see, this is again, yet another thing I noticed this time, and I did not notice it multiple times watch this movie, because every time we got the Mary Jane singing scenes, I'm like, oh, here we go. Sam Raimi did this really great thing with this movie where it's almost kind of like one of those like older movies, like one of those black and white love story movies. And again, older guy, sappier guy now, so I got it this time. The movie starts with Peter going to see her play, and she's singing the song about like how wonderful it must be to fall in love and like what love must be like. And throughout this movie, we see how hard it is for them to like, juggle being in love and being, having dreams and being two individual people and all these other things. And so we get to the scene at the end where she's singing and she starts with, "I'm done with love," as somebody that has struggled through this entire movie. And she's like kind of defeated, and she doesn't have this big play. She's in this small jazz club singing. But he told her when they were laying on the web together in the park, "I'll always be in front row for you. No matter what, I'll always be in front row for you." So when he comes into the bar, it's this beautiful moment of him showing up for her and making the point without saying it. "I will always be in the front row for you, no matter what." And he offers his hand, brings her down, and they slow dance together. And like, it's just such a great scene without dialogue, where if you've paid attention to their story throughout the movie, it's such a beautiful moment. But like I said, I never noticed that like all of these small things that Sam Raimi tried to do with this scene, because it's crammed into this movie with all this other zany stuff going on. that
Yeah.
it doesn't have the same like reverence that it would have if it wasn't such a long and bloated movie.
You don't have time to breathe in this
Yeah.
movie, right? Like there's very little time to breathe and to try to understand what's happening and try to as soon as you get through one thing, you're hit with something else. And like, I was talking earlier about timing and how things are sort of, kind of crammed together here. Like we didn't get, J. Jonah Jameson until right around the time of let's see, what mark was it when we got J. Jonah Jameson? It was about 35 minutes in till we got JJ. Like,
Yeah.
and he was such a pivotal part of 1 and 2. Like we couldn't have got him in the first 10, a very, very quick throwaway. Like by this time, we don't even know if Peter's still even taking pictures for the Bugle.
Yeah.
Like,
well, we don't find that out until we get the exposition about Brock that he's
Yes.
the new Bugle photographer, and he's like, "Wait, you work for the Bugle, but I work for the Bugle," and yeah. And I mean, the scene we do get with J. Jonah is great with like the heart meds and blood pressure and everything. All that stuff is great. But yeah, I think this movie could have used more of him. He was still very funny in this movie. When Peter comes back and he brings the pictures of himself in the black suit, and he's like, "Yeah, I'll take the staff job now for double the pay." Puts his feet on the desk, and he keeps looking at him and looking at his feet on the desk, like, "What?"
He's so great, man. Simmons is awesome. He's so awesome. J.K. Simmons is the best, man. Really good. Here's something else they threw in this movie that we did not need and they never paid off was Dylan Baker as Kirk Connors.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
They saved that one, Phil. Why couldn't they have saved Venom? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of the big what ifs of this franchise that we never got a lizard in these 4 movies. And by the time we get Lizard in Amazing Spider-Man, it's not nearly as interesting because we don't have the same continuity. We don't have the same connection between the 2 actors and the characters now.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of what worked with Mary Jane specifically in this movie with Peter is because we had 3 movies with them together. And it's the same thing with Harry. Harry's death has weight to it because we've had 3 movies with him.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And yeah, it's crazy. We mentioned Captain George Stacy earlier. This is James Cromwell. Kids, if you've watched any kind of sci-fi or action or drama in the past 20 years, you know who James Cromwell is because he's been everywhere. Guy's a great freaking actor. We've talked about him here on the show before. He was in iRobot. He's been in some other stuff that we've covered. When they revealed to them the retcon of Ben's father getting murdered, Peter's Uncle Ben getting murdered, and Peter is upset and gets up, talking about they didn't do their job. They're they need to go find. And he's like, "Settle down, son." I'm like, what? What? Like that's the line of dialogue this police captain gives this poor guy about his uncle. Like, oh God, it was cringeworthy when he says this to him. Man.
Settle down, son. No, I do not intend to settle down.
I'm like, dude, are you freaking kidding me right now? That's what you say to him? Like, that was mind blowing, man.
I kept expecting once we find out that it was an accident. I kept expecting it to be that Captain Stacy purposely protected Peter from the truth because he didn't want him to completely blame Flint for it because he knew it was an accident. But that's never really made a point of emphasis here, and it should have been.
Yeah, I mean, I would have been okay with that. I think that would have worked fine.
Yeah, and I think the whole point could have been that Captain Stacy felt bad for Peter once he knew the entire story, and he felt bad for Flint as well, and so he's trying to, protect Peter from the truth. But that's again that this is never is added in here. It's just kind of one of those things you're supposed to, I guess, assume. And I don't even know if you're supposed to assume it. I just don't think that that whole plot line was written very well.
Nah, it wasn't. We're talking about Venom, and again, apologies, kids. Hope you've been holding on to something. Pause it and rewind if you need to. We barely see Eddie at all. And the moments we do see him, some of them are kind of cornball. And the way that New York turned on Spider-Man is hilarious. That city don't need much. One headline, one picture. He's garbage. Like, you guys know that newspapers aren't always correct, don't you? Like, it's one page. And Peter stands there after the symbiote has gotten a hold of him, and he's got the emo hair in his eyes now, and he's looking all slick. And he's like, I'm going to throw dirt in his eyes.
Yeah.
Frig you talking about, man? What does that even mean?
Yeah, some of those lines of dialogue, once he becomes emo, sinister Spider-Man, it's just like, what are we doing? Like, what are these lines? When the infamous jazz scene, which is comfortably the worst scene in this entire movie.
Absolutely.
I know people make fun of him dancing up the street, and I still find that to be really funny. That didn't bother me nearly as much as that jazz scene. The jazz scene is terrible. Him making a point to do this whole choreographed revenge against Mary Jane, where he plays piano and dances with a chair, and then dances in front of her with Gwen Stacy, and he's like dancing at one point, pelvic thrust, and he's like, "Now check this out." It's like, well, wait, what? Now dig this. Like, what?
Yeah. Who let him on stage to play the piano, by the way? How'd that happen?
Yeah, all of that stuff, and that should have gotten cut from this movie. All of that stuff was so bad.
So bad. Yeah, it was really not good at all. None of that made any sense, and it's too over the top. I mean, we talked at the beginning of the show, Phil, about how later films embraced this movie, much in the same way like some of the Marvel films got embraced later by some of the Avengers films and really, worked back into continuity. Like the Spider-Verse films really embraced the dancing in the street, and Spider-Man Christmas album and stuff kind of sprung from that. And, like they fixed it eventually, but this movie by itself, without you knowing how any of that got poked fun at later, it's hard to watch.
Yeah, the stuff with him dancing up the street is, like I said, I know people didn't like that, but I personally thought that was hilarious. Like that montage, because what it is, I don't know if people caught this. It's supposed to be the opposite of his montage from Spider-Man 2, where he's struggling. This is supposed to be in his mindset, the victory lap. I'm winning. I'm up. I got the staff job at the Bugle. I got the suit. I'm doing great. I'm now like confident in myself. I'm like, I think I'm a ladies' man. Like, I'm up. And so I think that in itself is very funny. But yeah, it's just really the scene in the bar that's just awful. And then you cap off the scene with the bar with them trying to kick him out of there, and he's like, "Take your hand off me." And he gets into a fight with all the employees, and then he accidentally pushes Mary Jane off of him. And yeah, this movie did not need that at all.
I mean, he could have killed her.
Yeah, then he's, "Who are you?" "I don't know." Runs away into the night.
I mean, if, she gets shoved down by her ex-boyfriend, and the first thing she says is, "Who are you?" I would have been like, well, if that had been my first words to him, because then we made it all about him again, not about the fact he just shoved this girl down to the floor. Yeah. That was tough. That was tough. Tom Clark's 6M podcast is sponsored in part by Radius Law Group. Every day, Radius helps individuals, families, small businesses, and nonprofit organizations throughout North Carolina, Florida, and Pennsylvania resolve their legal issues by providing effective legal counsel in the areas of estate planning, as well as elder law and Medicaid. Radius Law holds the radical belief that working with a lawyer can indeed be enjoyable. So give them a call at 1-800-519-5667 for more information and tell them that Tom Clark's 6M podcast sent you. I'll say this in my notes. I've got that the expression on Tobey's face when she hit the floor, the way the camera was kind of pointing up at him from the bottom. In my notes, I have, there's probably a really good Venom movie here somewhere, because that that because Toby's so freaking good. Like that expression, I'm like, oh, that would have been an interesting road to travel down had we had an hour and a half film of just him and Venom. This would have been something to see. But again, they stuff so much stuff in here, cram so much stuff in here into such a short amount. I mean, the movie's long, but like in these short bursts of exposition, like you said, I think that's why it didn't click, man. You
Yeah.
know, like they didn't take the time because they didn't have the time. They had to keep going, which is you know, that's tough. That's really tough, man. The action scenes in this movie. I mean, we talked about the effects with Sandman, how great he looks. What's your take on because I think this is some of the best the web shooting and the slinging through the city. I think this is probably the best that the franchise has looked to this point.
Yeah, I think we get some of the best action throughout the entire trilogy in this movie. The initial fight with Harry is, I think, done pretty well.
Mhm.
The initial fight with Sandman's good. Even some of the stuff in the third act, uh, where Venom is holding him on that beam and Sandman is just like bashing his brains in. I don't know why we needed like the exposition from the news anchor on TV and the live news anchor as well.
Yes.
But I digress. Yeah, I mean, even when Harry joins the fray and Peter and Harry versus Sandman and Venom, I thought that was done well. Uh, yeah, I mean, and I love, despite the fact that I don't really love the way Venom was used here and how quickly he's dispatched of. I love the way Venom gets beaten. The way that Spider-Man thinks quickly and he uses all those beams and he's like running around them, putting the beams down and like using him to keep him at bay, and then he uses the bomb to kill him. I thought that was great.
That was great. It was genius because he figured out how to do it from the church bell.
Yeah, he figured it out pretty quickly, and I love the small note of he used the bomb from the glider, almost being like, "This is the final thing from Harry." Of just like, by the way, get this Venom symbiote out of here.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I agree. It was a fitting end. We got to shout out Bruce Campbell.
Yes.
Had a delightful cameo as the French maitre d'. It was just wonderful.
Pekka.
Yeah. But then he realized he's going to propose. He's all aboard. He's all about it. And they kept trying to bring the ring and champagne out, and he kept shooting them away.
So funny, man. When he shows him the ring and he whips his glasses out, and he's
Yeah.
like, "Yeah, it's a tiny little thing, but all right."
Yeah. Yeah, he's so excited. He's so happy. And then the maitre d' gets happy for him. We talked about the retconning of, and I know your take on this because we've talked about it on other shows. I am sorely against this, and not just because I'm a comic book guy first, because I am, because as much as I love the movies, Phil, these are adaptations. These are not the books. So I think I know how you feel about this. I did not like the retconning at all. Like, if you wanted to work Marco in to some degree, maybe he was the guy with the killer. I don't know. I guess they said, well, he has to be the killer. And I'm like, I don't know if he has to be, but I don't know, man. I still was not a fan of this at all.
I think it would have worked better if um they're like the killer is still at large and we find out like Marco was holding the gun, but the same way we find out it was an accident. And so it's kind of the thing that makes him go overboard with the symbiote, and it makes him go off into the sewer and try and get revenge. Which, by the way, the second fight with Sandman in the subway is also great.
It is.
But yeah, just I think it should have been used as a swerve where we get this idea of like, could they really change retcon this? And then we find out, oh, we didn't really kill him. It was an accident.
Right.
But I just don't think it was handled well. And then, like I said, if you had added in the stuff with Captain Stacy, being kind of like being sentimental about the fact that this guy just made a mistake, and I just want to put this to bed, so I just made it seem like the other guy that fell out of the building did it.
Mhm.
That would have
Yeah.
worked better. But it just wasn't written well at all.
I agree. Yeah, again, it was just felt forced. Like Batman 89 Kids is a great movie. The Joker did not kill Batman's parents. Okay. Like just let's move on with our day. That did not
No,
happen.
no love for Joe Chill, I guess.
No love for Joe Chill. No one's chill about Joe Chill. Uh, the symbiote, as we said, kids, there's not much of a threat here until he bonds with Eddie because, like, there's not really much wrong until it gets wrong. When she dumps
Mhm.
Peter, that's when the emo hair starts and the dancing starts and the thing kind of takes over. But until then, it's not really a threat. It's not following him as it did in the books. We don't see it moving across the room all the time and subtly bonding with him. No, I guess they're trying to imply those things happen, but it didn't really happen. And juggling these villains, to me anyway, juggling all these villains at one time just hints at underdeveloped story arcs and narrative congestion, which I think we put that over pretty well here. Sam Raimi is on the record as saying he didn't really believe in all the characters, which I think is absolutely evident in the film. He wanted the Vulture as the villain, and he was pressured to include Venom. We heard for a long time that Avi Arad was the guy that was behind that. He was pushing for Venom to be in this film because the fans wanted Venom. It was the hottest selling book in Marvel at the time, which is
Yeah.
why it happened. I mean, Phil, there's a lot of reasons why this movie derailed. But when you've got the director out there after the fact saying, yeah, I didn't want to do this, I didn't believe in it, that's a problem.
Yeah, it's very clear that that was the case with a lot of the Venom subplot stuff. And
Yeah.
that's why a lot of it either felt very half baked or way too kooky to the point that it felt like it was a totally different movie.
Yeah. Yeah. Sam Raimi also said that raising the stakes after Spider Man 2 was their thinking going in Spider Man 3, which is fine, but he thinks that that's what doomed them. His words
Yes.
doomed them. He continued by saying that he should have stuck with the characters and the relationships and progressed them to the next step instead of focusing on raising the bar, topping the bar, which is definitely another thing that was reflected in the final act of this film, which I completely agree with that. The
I mean,
relationships,
yeah,
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 right,
yeah. I mean, that was really what I said at the beginning of this review, that the stuff that shined in this movie was all of the smaller moments, all the slice of life stuff, all the stuff with like his relationships with his aunt, his relationship with MJ, and the stuff with him and Harry. All of that stuff was done much better than some of the big set pieces that we got later on in the movie.
yeah, for sure, yeah. The relationships between Peter, Mary, Peter, Mary Jane, and Harry, they all felt rushed and forced instead of a natural continuation of where Spider-Man 2 left them, which I agree with that as well. And all the ambition and pressure that Sam Raimi mentioned led to the failure of this film. The film made a lot of money, Phil,
Yeah,
because a lot of people. A movie's going to pop in the beginning because a lot of people are going to come see it because it's a Spider-Man film. But I think of course, what the telltale sign is what happens in the next 2 to 4 weeks, 2 to 6 weeks, which is, I think, is where things start to drop off for any film that is, not just critically panned, but also panned by fans who are like, what is this? I mean, that's a lot of what's going on. I mean, it's tough to talk about Franco here. We've talked about Harry a lot. We know what happened to Franco in the end, which is not awesome. Uh, the things that guy is guilty of, or allegedly guilty of, or whatever, however it is you want to say it. But I still submit there would have been a whole other movie had it just been the two of them, and possibly Sandman. I think that would have been a whole other movie. And I don't know. It's unfortunate that it happened the way it happened, Phil. But this is the movie we got anyway. So
yeah. I still contend that if Harry's death was the end of the movie, and that was the thing that really showed Peter he had gone too far, um, and that was the thing that forced him to split from the symbiote, I think that this would have been a better movie.
yeah,
Um, and you could have saved all the stuff with Venom for the second movie because just again, and this could be just the writer's brain in me, because I think if you end this movie with the Harry stuff, if you even if you even if you did bits of the stuff with their confrontation at the bar, let's just cut out all of the impromptu dance stuff. If he had just brought Gwen to that bar and tried to make her jealous, and Then he got kicked out the same way, and he had the same reaction and ran out of there. And he just never saw Mary Jane again for the rest of the movie. And the next time we see Mary Jane is in the next movie where Venom is like stalking her and like trying to like use her against him. Totally different.
Yeah, it is totally different. Did you buy at the end of this that she just walks off from the grave and doesn't even acknowledge Peter standing there? Does that make sense? I mean, considering everything they've been through?
I think they're trying to mirror the stuff from the first movie where when she admits she loves him in the first movie, she went to console him at the end. But after everything in this movie, she doesn't know where they stand anymore.
Yeah.
And so she's just trying to give him time, and he's trying to give her time.
Yeah. Oh, man, what could have been?
Yeah. But like I said, all of that stuff, even if you had put that same funeral scene in here and you interlaced it with him in the church at the church trying to get the symbiote off of him, and then you have the funeral happening at the same time, and that's like a montage at the end of the movie, I think it still would have worked because like I said, if you end this movie with him starting with how great everything is working out for him, and he's got his girlfriend, and at the end of the movie he's lost his best friend, he's dealt with everything from the Venom symbiote, he's at this funeral, and they don't even know where they stand anymore, and she walks away from him, and that's the end of the movie. Totally different. Yeah. Totally different movie. They don't reconcile into the next movie.
Yeah. Because, man, that gives you another reason to go see it.
Yeah.
To see what happens. Yeah. By the way, before we wrap this up, we talked about other movies. We know that Spider-Man No Way Home assembled all the Spider-Man into one film. Still a great movie, kids. It's one of those I could just watch it many times. It's tough to watch because of Aunt May. Spoiler alert. But great movie nonetheless. But Phil, did that take care of a lot of that? The combination of that and Into the Spider-Verse, like at the end of the day, are we feeling okay about part 3 because those two things happened?
Like I said, there's things that I've come to appreciate about the third movie. It's still comfortably the worst of the trilogy.
Sure.
And it's still possibly one of the worst Spider-Man movies ever made. But I still think this is going to sound crazy, but in the grand scheme of bad comic book trilogy movies, it's not as bad as X-Men 3. It isn't as bad as Superman 3.
I know. No.
It's not a great movie. Like I said, it feels like a lot of studio meddling stopped this from being a better movie. And that's a shame because I think a fourth movie could have been better. And I hate that this trilogy, for everything it did for genre films, for everything it did for this character, didn't end on a better note.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I got to be honest with you, man. This movie's pretty bad. Superman 3 is pretty bad. X-Men 3 is pretty bad.
Yes.
At any given time, I might say one of those three is the worst comic movie, but that depends on what day it is, I guess.
We've definitely seen worse comic book movies than this, or it's like, I mean, that Green Lantern movie is just so
terrible,
god awful,
so
movie.
Bad.
Yeah, I don't think this is the worst Spider-Man movie.
Really?
That might be my hot take. I think Amazing Spider-Man 2 is worse.
It's pretty.
I think
bad.
It's much worse.
It's pretty bad, but I don't know if it's Spider-Man 3 bad. Of course, it's pretty bad. But you could argue that No Way Home fixed that as well.
I think at least it gave Andrew Garfield a better send-off. It gave him a send-off that he deserved. But yeah, Amazing Spider-Man 2 is really bad.
Yeah.
it's really bad.
Yeah, it's a pretty bad freaking movie. That's in the archives as well, kids. If you've got stomach for it, you can go listen to it because it's tough. It's tough. Well, look, I wanted to get this one done. That way we could say we have officially, as of this recording, I think we've done every Spider-Man movie. We even did the Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man show, which I hope returns. I assume it will on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
Yeah, I hate like when we got Spectacular Spider-Man and we saw like they took notes from this movie. They started with the black suit the same way, and they did that great thing where the suit evolves and evolves for every episode until it turns into the black suit we know. And I think
Hmm.
that's again, if we had gotten that in this movie, and by the end of the movie it looked more like the traditional black suit that we know, and like it ended with him separating himself from the symbiote, it would have been so different.
Yeah. 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 That's true. I mean, man, so many people in this movie. This cast is huge. I mean, new faces in this film too, new to the franchise anyway, and all these. You still got the same great director and the same. He's also the guy that wrote it along with Alvin Sargent. But man, that external pressure is what did it. And again, when you got the director who's critically acclaimed and who handled the first two films as well as he did, above expectations, I would argue. When you got that guy saying, "Yeah, I didn't believe in this. It was hard to believe in it," like that's a problem. And yeah, I think it's a telltale sign of how this thing really went in the end. It was, um, I called it a train wreck before we started recording. I'm gonna stick to that, and that's not said out of hate. I love the cast, love the director. It's not said out of this is an embarrassing film. It's just I think it's a train wreck, Phil. How hard do you go on that? I know you said there's things about it you appreciate now, but are you drawing a line in the sand on that? No pun intended.
Yeah, again, I don't think it's a great movie. It has
Yeah.
a lot of problems. I think, unfortunately, this movie is going to be forever marred by what ifs. What could have been. I mean, a lot of things I've said throughout this review of what they could have done better. Um, because there was a lot of good here. Like there is a great cast here. There is semblance of a good story and some great themes under a lot of unnecessary, convoluted nonsense.
Mm.
And there's some great action here. There's some great effects here, but there's just man, just so much that could have gotten cut. There's so much that should have been edited out of this movie. And there's so much that's clearly studio meddling. Um, yeah, you could see it at multiple times throughout this movie where this movie is kind of at odds with itself. Like you
Yeah.
have things like the stuff with Harry and MJ where MJ goes to his house and like they're like making omelets for some reason and like like dancing in his kitchen and then they end up kissing and uh like I said, if that is just like in its own movie, it's different. But you have that going on in the same movie where Peter Parker is like walking down the street and like dancing. Like that just it, it's just tonally these two things just don't work together.
Don't work. And they're dancing to the twist by Chubby Checker. Hey, look, I
Yeah.
appreciate Chubby as much as the next guy, but that song in this film felt so out of place to me.
Yeah.
Like,
Very strange.
yeah. And they even had the Raindrops Keep Falling on My Head by B.J. Thomas in part two, as hokey as that was, and somehow it worked in that
I
montage.
loved it. I love that montage so
Right?
much, man. It's one of my favorite. It's one of my favorite things from any Spider-Man movie, and I think that's also part of this as well. You're going from the high note of Spider-Man 2, which is, still for my money, one of the top three Spider-Man movies ever made, one of the best comic book movies ever made. Period.
I agree.
So you have a lot to live up to, and that's clearly indicated in just how well this movie did because a lot of people came off of that movie excited for this movie, and yeah, this is what we got.
So we talked about this when we reviewed No Way Home, and we've talked about it in other spots. I'm going to give you a chance here, and I didn't mention this to you off mic, but I'm going to give you a chance here. I want you to give me your elevator pitch for Spider-Man 4 in this universe with Sam's back, Toby's back, Kirsten's back. What's your pitch for Spider-Man 4 happening in real time? Not trying to rewind the clock to make it a year after this movie. If you had to pitch it, what you think would make sense that would work, what would you pitch for a Spider-Man 4 in this universe? Too much time has passed, maybe you think, or no?
I think a lot of time has passed, but I think it's doable. I don't
Mm,
know why you would do it now with the Tom Holland movie still
right.
full steam ahead. But if you just wanted to do like this elsewhere movie in an alternate universe, like if you wanted to do something like a mini series or something specifically to Disney Plus, I think that could be really good.
Hmm.
Um, which that's a very expensive mini series to just do, bring in
It
Sam Raimi and
is.
do all these things. But crazier things have happened. But if you just wanted to do a one off, I think the way to go is to have start the movie with Peter teaching at school. He's completely retired. He's not Spider-Man anymore.
Ooh, I like
He's
that.
teaching.
Oh, go.
He's completely retired. He's teaching at school because he learned the lesson in the third movie. Mary, Aunt May has passed by this time, but he learned the lesson from Aunt May when she told him, if you're going to get married, you have to put yourself before your wife. And so he made the decision, I have to be completely dedicated to this marriage if I want this to work, and I have to give up being Spider-Man. So he's a teacher. Um, we get the reveal they're married at this point. He comes home, they have a daughter named May,
Yes.
and all of these things are working out well for him, but he still is getting that inkling to go back out there and risk his life. Um, and the thing that brings him back in the game is we finally get Kingpin in this universe,
Ooh.
and uh, Kingpin is reigning over the city as the kingpin of crime, and eventually that's what calls Spider-Man back in action. And when Spider-Man does finally put the suit back on, Kingpin walks into this bunker in the bottom of his lair, and that's where we get the introduction of Smythe and the Spider Slayers.
Oh, nice. See that? I didn't prompt you at all. That was off the cuff. That's not bad.
I write for a living. I don't know.
Well, there you go. Does May have powers in this story?
Oh, we don't find that out at this point because she's still a baby.
Interesting, because here's what
Still
I'm
a
going to tell
toddler.
you. Well, okay, but here's what I'll tell you. This movie happened in 2007. Okay. Now let's say these two characters don't get married for, let's say, another 3 years before they actually physically get married, and then she has a baby later. You're still talking that kid at this point is, 18, 17, 18, 19 years old, maybe. Like, there's still, not necessarily have to be a toddler. You know what I mean? She could be a teenager at this point.
Yeah.
So something to think about.
I mean, yeah, and I mean, I think that would be a great way to launch off and do like a Spider-Girl movie later on. But yeah, I really like the idea of getting the introduction of Tobey again, and he's completely stopped being Spider-Man. He's kind of taken on the idea of being a teacher from his mentor in Kirk Connors, and of course Otto Octavius, that has like really told him like, yeah, if you're smart, you have responsibility, and you can't just waste your gifts.
Mm.
You can even use that as something he's telling his students when we see him the first time in one of his class. Like, man, you have a responsibility to the world. If you have a gift, you cannot waste it.
Yeah, I'd be here for that. And one of his, okay, let me add to your story. One of his students is a kid named Miles Morales.
Yeah, I mean, but I could think that could be another reason why he's not Spider-Man anymore.
Yeah,
because somebody else is Spider-Man.
Somebody else is Spider-Man. Yeah. Here's something I neglected to mention throughout this entire podcast. Where was the spider sense in this movie?
I used it a few times. Again,
I must have fell asleep on it.
we don't get the inclusion that the Venom symbiote is immune to spider sense, which they don't ever explain that. But his spider sense does. It's used a few times in the fights with Harry in particular. Like,
yeah.
it's not as pronounced, but like when Harry is trying to use like the blades on his forearm and they're getting closer to his face and he peeks up when they're like right at his eye. Like there's certain scenes where they use it, and the sound effects are supposed to point you
Yeah.
to the fact that it's his spider sense.
I was reading that as slow motion, but I guess that's fine. I guess that works.
Yeah.
I just missed the big dramatic like car being thrown through the freaking restaurant. What a great moment that was in part 2. Oh, wonderful stuff. Yeah. Well, kids, there you have it. There's Spider-Man 3 and an idea for Spider-Man 4. So Sony, Marvel, if you're listening, we got your movie right here, pal. So come get it. Come pay the man. That's what I'm saying. And let's get some of that Marvel money in here. I'd take some. Heartbeat. They get enough of mine, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So
I mean, just off that pitch, just that idea of both Tobey as Spider-Man mentoring somebody else as Miles Morales, and the third act is Peter and Miles versus the Spider Slayers. Take my money.
Yeah. I'm here for it. Yeah, man, I'm here for it. Folks, another franchise wrapped up. Before we get out of here, we have to mention that next Spider-Man film is going to be effing amazing. I have no doubt. Punisher, Tom Holland, Daredevil. Daredevil is confirmed for that as well. Yes, I assume he is.
I don't know that he's confirmed yet.
I would not. I'd be shocked if he's not in it. There's just too much interconnectivity. I want Vincent D'Onofrio on screen with Tom Holland. It has to happen in that movie, Phil. It has to. Got to happen.
Yeah.
So fingers crossed, kids, we get Kingpin and Spider-Man, as we said before. Phil, before we call it a day, let's get your last word on Spider-Man 3.
Very critically panned movie, very justly so. A movie, like I said, will be forever marred by what if. There are glimpses of a good movie here, but not enough to say it's an overall good movie. Unfortunately, some great performances from Tobey and some of the rest of this cast were not enough to lift this out of the muck that was kind of cobbled together by both Raimi and the studio. But yeah, I still will say that this trilogy on a whole is still a high mark for comic book films. Sucks that it didn't really stick the landing though.
Yeah, for sure. It's this movie does have, there are flashes, as I said before, kids. There's a good Venom movie here somewhere. There's a really good Sandman movie here somewhere. And there's possibly even a good, Harry and Peter dynamic happening that really gets fleshed out. We get a lot more of the stuff that works and less of the stuff that doesn't work. But it's a lot of ifs, ands, and maybes, kids. And, if nothing else, maybe one day we'll invent that Wayback Machine and go make that movie happen. But, you do have other movies that take their place, folks. That,
I mean, I think I came away from this movie, too, thinking we didn't get enough of Peter just dating for the first two movies as well, because I think some of this would have worked better, because you see the chemistry that he had with the actress playing Betty Brant, and I think if we had got to because I mean, yeah, they flirted with each other early on in the first movie, but if we had like this idea like that he like dated her, was interested in her, or if Gwen was introduced in the second movie, it would have been different.
I mean, we didn't even mention her, did we?
Yeah, but I think if he had like dated, like one of the funniest scenes from this movie, by the way, is him on the phone with Dr. Connors and his neighbor is feeding him the cookies. Hilarious.
So good. She loves him, man. She's always had a crush on him.
Yeah. And he's like, man, give me some more cookies. You got some cookies with nuts? You think you can get some?
Yeah. He's like, make some? Yeah.
Yeah, man, but this again, there's so many small moments in this movie when he finally blows up on his landlord after he had put up with him for the entirety of Spider-Man 2. And he's like, you'll get your rent when you fix this door. And he doesn't even get mad at him. He's like, he's a good kid. He's just going through something.
Right. But also fix the door. Like,
yeah. Yeah, yeah, it's so great. Even when he comes and apologizes to him later, and he doesn't even make a big deal out of it, because I think we get this idea, especially in the comics, that all of these people, all these adults in his life, are giving him a hard time because they know he's better than what he's presenting. You have so much more potential than what you're doing. You can do so much better than this. And
Yeah.
I'm hard on you because I care about you. And that's a lot of his relationship with J. Jonah Jameson and so many other adult characters in his life.
Yeah. They see it in him. They see that he's, like you said, a good person. Elizabeth Banks is Betty Brant. I have always been a fan of Elizabeth Banks, my friend. Always. I love the Betty Brant character. Are you kidding me? Yeah, I was here for that for sure. And you know, the landlord and his daughter, as you said before, I mean, they are freaking great. Rent every time he comes around. It's so good. But yeah, they're back here as well. I mean, I told you the cast was big, everybody. I did mention that a couple of times here. Yeah, that was Mr. Ditkovich for Ditko, of course, the great Steve Ditko. That was Elia Baskin as the landlord, and Margarina Tova, as the daughter. There you go.
Yeah,
Or
possibly.
Maganina. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even say it, but possibly the best Stan cameo of any Spider-Man movie, by the way.
See, you're killing me. I did not care for the Stan cameo at all.
So great. Like when you do something right, you don't have to say much at all. So
I just felt it was
perfect.
on the nose. I just felt it was
It's
on the
kinda
nose. It's so weird. We got different takes on some of this stuff. I just felt it was on the nose. I still think his best. I'm trying to think of what his best Spider-Man cameo was.
I mean, the best one is from Into the Spider-Verse when he tells them, "Look, it fits everybody.
It's everybody. Eventually,
might not fit right away, but fits eventually."
And then it immediately notes the price or something. It like takes away from the moment, but it does it in a fun way. Yeah, it's good. Well, I mean, kids, the greatest Stanley cameo of all time was in Deadpool. I don't think we can argue that. Of all time has got to be Deadpool. Like announcing the strippers to the stage is the best thing ever. Like, because it's so not a Stan Lee moment. So yeah. Well, there you go, kids. Spider-Man 3 over and done with. Go watch the movie if you haven't seen it in a while. I guess if you want to, just go into it knowing that there's some troubles and there's some challenges that were never really overcome. But maybe you've seen worse. Heck, maybe you haven't. But if you don't like this and you get upset, don't go yelling at me. I didn't tell you how to do it. Come back next week for a brand new episode either way of Tom Clark's 6M podcast. We appreciate you very much. Continue to follow the show on Boink Studios YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts, of course, and check out all of our other podcasts at Boink Studios as well. Go give Phil a follow on Grapsity. He and Reggie are killing it over there. So go check out that show. Lots of great entertainment coming your way. Nothing's behind a paywall, kids. Go check it out. And we'll see you next time. But until then, that is Spider-Man 3. Hey, thanks for listening to the show. Check out our social media on Facebook, Instagram, and Threads at 6M Podcasts. We'll see you next time.